But, and this, of course, is where it becomes complicated. The facts were true, hurrah for archaeology. But the interpretation was rather more complicated, because the cylinder account and the Hebrew Bible account differ in one key respect. The Babylonian cylinder is written by the priests of the great god of Babylon, Marduk. And, not surprisingly, they tell you that all this was done by Marduk. Marduk, we're told, calls Cyrus by his name. Marduk takes Cyrus by the hand, calls him to shepherd his people, and gives him the rule of Babylon. Marduk tells Cyrus that he will do these great generous things of setting the people free. And this is why we should all be grateful to and worship Marduk. The Hebrew writers in the Old Testament, you will not be surprised to learn, take a rather different view of this. For them, of course, it can't possibly be Marduk that made all this happen. It can only be Jehovah. And so in Isaiah, we have the wonderful texts giving all the credit of this, not to Marduk, but to the Lord God of Israel. The Lord God of Israel, who also calls Cyrus by name, also takes Cyrus by the hand and talks of him shepherding his people. It's a remarkable example of two different priestly appropriations of the same event, two different religious takeovers of a political fact. God, we know, is usually on the side of the big battalions. The question is, which God was it? And the debate unsettles everybody in the 19th century to realize that the Hebrew scriptures are part of a much wider world of religion. And it's quite clear the cylinder is older than the text of Isaiah, and yet Jehovah is speaking in words very similar to those used by Marduk. And there's a slight sense that Isaiah knows this, because he says, I have called, this is God speaking, of course, I have called thee by thy name, though thou hast not known me. I think it's recognized that Cyrus doesn't realize that he's acting under orders from Jehovah. And equally, he'd been surprised when he was acting under orders from Marduk, because interestingly, of course, Cyrus is a good Iranian with a totally different set of gods who are not mentioned in any of these texts.